It's snowing. Who do you have there?
Azura.
Aww. She's so sleepy. Oh, her eyes are closed. Oh, so sleepy. So sleepy. We are here with the baby and Mick too. Today is day 2 in the hospital. Well, Ava was born. Oh my gosh, our brains are fried. But Ava was born about 30 hours ago. So with COVID, they're asking most people to leave within 24 hours, but we had some things come up, which I'll talk about here, and reason they wanted to monitor her a little bit longer. Did I say Ava? I meant Azura. I'm all over the place. Our brains are so fried. We haven't slept much since Thursday, and today is Sunday. So yeah, we went into the hospital Friday evening around 11 p.m. and I was so disappointed when they told me I was only 3.5 centimeters, because with Ava, when I went to the hospital, I was 7 centimeters, and so I pretty much got the epidural right away when we arrived. But this time I thought, oh my gosh, 3.5 centimeters, like they're gonna send me home. They're not gonna, you know, keep me. They're gonna say I need to progress more. Well, in an hour I had progressed to 4 centimeters, so they kept me. I wasn't sure if I wanted an epidural or not. I kind of wanted to see how things went, because with the second delivery you typically go faster and things can go a lot smoother in most cases, like 99.9% of cases. So I was kind of seeing how far I would get, how fast, but they weren't checking me, so I didn't know how many centimeters I was, and things started to get super painful, and I eventually lost control of the pain. But before that happened, this nurse kept pushing. Like, what did she say?
Basically said that if you do an epidural, they're gonna induce labor.
Like, have to give me Pitocin.
Yeah, Pitocin.
Yeah, that's right. So she kept saying that, okay, because you're progressing so slowly, like your contractions are so far apart, that I wasn't even progressing that slowly, by the way, but because your contractions are so far apart, she was like, I can pretty much guarantee if you get the epidural now, they're gonna give you Pitocin, and that can lead to basically them having to give a C-section, because when they give Pitocin, it really speeds things up, things get more intense, and then you have to you can sometimes end up getting a C-section if like baby's heart rate drops and stuff like that. So I didn't want to do that. Okay, so without fail, Mick said there's like a, what did you say about people interrupting you?
There's a button or sensor once you go in the bathroom or turn the water on or sit down
or start filming or doing anything.
15 people come in.
They all come in, so we've been trying to like film and take pictures for hours, and it's like not working. But anyway, so the nurse just came in. We were briefly interrupted, but yeah, so basically a different nurse. When we got here, she was really smart, really like knew her stuff, and was also very opinionated. So I didn't necessarily not want an epidural. I just wanted to see how far I could get, and like definitely get one if I needed one, but not get one if things were going like really fast. Well, they weren't going fast. and I didn't want to end up with a C-section, so I wanted to go as long as I could without an epidural, because epidurals slow things down. And again, more room for like intervention, like with the Pitocin. My whole point was I didn't end up getting an epidural until it was way too late. I tried nitrous oxide, or nitrous, is that what it was called? Nitrogen, the gas that you breathe in. And first of all, I put it on and it was literally not doing anything. And I was like, is it even on? And it wasn't. It wasn't on. She was like, whoops. So I tried it and it made me kind of sick and lightheaded and like nauseous. It didn't work for me. I labored in the tub. That was actually really good. That helped for so long. Like, the contractions were half as bad. They didn't hurt nearly as bad when I was in there. But I just passed a certain point where it didn't work. So Mick kept saying, like, are you gonna get the epidural? Like, he kind of knew the warning signs, but I was like,
there's a process.
Yeah.
You need a bag of fluid.
Yeah.
The IV, which takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
And after you get to a certain point, well, then you're gonna call the anesthesiologist to come in.
Mm-hmm. They're not even always like in the same building. Like, they might have to come from another hospital.
It just takes a while. So if you want to start the process, you got to start it. If you want it to happen, you got to start the process.
I was in so much pain. It was unbearable. Mick said it was so hard to watch. I'm like traumatized.
The pain of the IV.
Yeah. Oh, the pain of the epidural.
No, the IV, pushing the fluid into your hand. And you had 2 IV.
Oh yeah, they put
2 IV spots.
They put so they wanted to get the bag of fluid in me fast because of how bad the pain was. Like, I'm talking scream crying. If you've ever seen anything like that before, it was just not normal. But they took the bag and squeezed it so it would go like really fast into my hand, and it just like burned. Everything hurt, and like they had to do 2 IVs. It was not good. Oh, and then I'm laughing now because I'm like, this is how I deal with trauma. But they come in and they're like, well, we have to check you before the epidural. Again, another thing in the process to do before the epidural. And I was, do you remember how many? I was either 7.5 or 8 centimeters. So I'm 8 centimeters, and which I didn't know because no one had checked me. Like, I would have gotten. Anyway, this nurse kept saying, like, earlier she had checked me and she was like, you're a 6, but that doesn't mean things aren't gonna speed up really quickly. Like, she was just really pushing for a natural birth, which was fine. I wanted to see if I could go natural, but I didn't mean to communicate that I like really was gung-ho about it. I was really gung-ho about just like enjoying this labor, and I didn't. Anyway, she does the epidural.
Yeah.
And when she puts it in, one of my legs like flips up. Like, I had like a nerve reaction. Like, it was like, yeah, involuntarily. It was like she hit a nerve or something and my leg moved. And I was like, uh-oh, like what was that? And then I had like tingling in my toe right away. It was like something wasn't right. Like, it definitely wasn't right. She was like, all right, see ya. And I was like, okay. So my right leg was completely numb, but nothing here, like none of the contractions. I felt every single thing with the contractions. It wasn't working. They're like, well, we need to wait like 20 minutes. I was like, you guys, I feel everything. This isn't working. This is horrible. So they waited like 30 minutes, and I was like, has anyone called the anesthesiologist? Get her back here. They checked me again. I'm 9 centimeters. So usually at 9 centimeters, they won't give you an epidural. Like, you're too close. It's happening too fast. And I had gone from 8 to 9 in a matter of like half an hour. So I think they took pity on me because I was so...
They came back and did a spinal tap.
Yeah,
and
so...
They redid the epidural.
So,
and then you took a nap, rested for an hour.
So not only, I don't know if you guys could hear him or not, but Mick was just saying, not only did they come back and give me that epidural because I was in so much pain, but they had to do a spinal block too to make sure I just didn't feel anything. They were like, sorry about that, like, we're gonna really make sure you don't feel a single thing. So they gave me a spinal tap. highly recommend. Didn't feel anything. And then also the epidural, so I'm not even sure what the difference is. It was just a lot, and I didn't feel anything after that.
When you're ready to contemplating death, when you're contemplating death, spinal tap is the creme de la creme.
Okay, the phone's ringing, so I'm gonna have to answer this. Be right back. Okay, so there was no one on the phone. That was really weird, but Mixed Magic sensor, like he mentioned, turned on, and they were like, oh, time to interrupt. So anyway, they had the spinal tap and the epidural, and so I didn't feel anything after that, thank the good Lord. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't feel anything. There was like a spot in my stomach where I could still feel the contractions, and it hurt really bad, but it was 1/14 of what the other pain was before. Like, it was horrifically unbearable. I don't know how people gave birth in the past without epidurals. So after the epidurals, even though I'd gone from an 8 to a 9 in half an hour, they didn't check me for 2 hours. So they just let me labor down, is what they call it. So they just like had the baby. Basically, I think the baby was there for the full 2 hours, like at 10 centimeters ready to go, because when finally they were like, oh, we should probably check you now, the midwife was like, you guys, the baby's here. Like, it was like all of a sudden an emergency, and we had to push. And then again, to my theory, it only took 3 pushes for that baby to come out at that point. Like, it was amazing. And last time with Ava, it was like 45 minutes of pushing, and this was how many minutes of pushing?
5 minutes.
5 minutes maybe. So that was much better. And the thing that happened though is when they handed me the baby, all of a sudden the cord snapped, and like I noticed it right away, and the midwife like grabbed it and like, what do you call it? Pinched it, like suctioned it off or whatever, because the baby, Azura, started losing blood. So she lost a little bit of blood because of this. Her numbers are fine now, but usually during the time of the pandemic of COVID-19, they send you home within 24 hours, but they've been monitoring her. They took her blood, they tested her. Her temperature was low, so she couldn't get her temperature up, so her hemoglobin is a little low, so we're gonna go back to the doctor and like check on that too to make sure, but it's trending, you know, it's not too significantly low, so they feel comfortable sending us home. But the point is, that was kind of traumatic. The whole labor was traumatic. We're laughing now, but it wasn't funny. Like,
it was the red delivery.
Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to say is, I had another nurse, I told her what happened. I was like, at some point I lost control. I wanted to see how far I could go. Last time I came in at 7 centimeters, so I thought that was like the magic number I had to get to. She was like, oh no, most people get an epidural around like 4 or 5 centimeters. I was like, really? I was 4 when I came in. Like, why didn't no one tell me? I would have gotten an epidural and then slept through the night. That's the other thing. We didn't sleep the whole night. So I came in at 11 p.m. and didn't give birth until 8:04 a.m. We didn't sleep, so we haven't slept from Thursday until Sunday. We got a little bit of sleep last night finally, and today's Sunday. So I could have like had the epidural and slept all night or half the night or whatever it was, and
Pain is so draining.
the pain is just exhausting. And then Azura came out, and oh my gosh, she has this like kind of red hair, and not convinced it's red. It's kind of hard to tell, like it changes colors in the light, but I'm so surprised she doesn't look that much like our other daughter, Evangelina, which I'm also surprised, but I just thought she would like be a little twin. I don't know why I had that in my head, but yeah, and she's totally different. She has like a different personality. We're still kind of getting nursing down. She does it differently than Ava, so I'm figuring that out with her. And she's so sleepy. Look at how sleepy she's been sleeping this whole time. I remember Evangelina was like more awake and active and like alert. We took pictures and she was like looking at the camera like, like what's that? Like being really just alert. And this baby Azura, isn't. She's so sleepy. Although we had a really traumatic labor experience, which is probably part of it, and she lost a little blood, and she's like a tiny bit jaundiced looking. I'm not, her levels of that was like, her bilirubin was okay, but we're keeping an eye on that too. That's our labor story. I think Evangelina's going to be asleep when we get home, so we are going to introduce them tomorrow, introduce Ava to Azura, and so stay tuned for that. Yeah, be home with our brand new baby. Oh, and look at my necklace, you guys. Ava and Azura, my baby. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention is that Azura was 5 days overdue, and it's October, and in Minnesota it's snowing. We had a snowstorm on Monday, so there's 8 inches on the ground.
Yeah,
Tuesday, whatever day it was. So, and now it's snowing again. So with Ava, our first baby, it was a snowstorm. She was born in February, so snow is expected in February in Minnesota. But every other day it was a huge storm, so we were like, don't go into labor this day, and then like, don't go in that day. And I was 8 days overdue with her. Azura was only 5 days overdue. But it's just kind of funny. I never expected to have a baby in another snowstorm. So that's kind of funny. And then the other thing that happened was we got COVID-19 when I was 37 weeks. Mick and I tested positive, and he wasn't going to be able to come if I gave birth early in the hospital. But luckily he was able to come, and there's still COVID restrictions in the hospital, so he only have one birth partner, so he's the only person who can actually come to the hospital with me, and he has to stay in the room. So we've been in this like tiny little cramped, or you can see like,
technically you're supposed to have masks on too.
Yeah.
And during delivery.
Oh yeah, I had to wear a mask during delivery, which like did not happen at one point. I was like just totally naked.
Ready to die.
Ready to die. Oh, I thought I was a goner, and I was just ready to be taken away. Anyway, so Mick has been a good sport about being in this like tiny confined room this whole time. He can't go get water, he can't go get food, he can like leave the hospital and come back if he needs to, but he hasn't really even done that. So he did pick up food when the delivery person came, because we ordered some food one day, because the hospital food is not so good. All right, it's bath time for the baby and for mommy. So we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye. Hi. Hi, baby.